On June 6, 1944, over 150,000 Allied soldiers stormed the beaches of Normandy. This day, D-Day, is etched in history as the beginning of the end for Nazi Germany. But what if I told you that on these same beaches, another epic battle was fought? A silent one, not for territory, but for the future of the global economy. This is the story of how the greatest military operation in history also orchestrated the quiet death of the British pound and crowned the US dollar as the undisputed king of global finance. It's a story of logistics, debt, and the creation of an empire built not on land, but on currency. Let's start with a mind-boggling number, $300 trillion. If you were to translate the economic cost and impact of D-Day into today's money, that's the kind of figure you'd be looking at. It's almost unimaginable. We often focus on the soldiers, the tanks, and the bravery, and rightly so. But behind every single one of those soldiers was a mountain of supplies. Think about it. Every bullet, every sea ration, every bandage, every gallon of fuel had to be produced, paid for, and transported across an ocean. This wasn't just a military operation. It was the largest logistical undertaking in human history. And at the heart of this colossal effort was a simple, brutal reality. War is expensive. Incredibly expensive. Britain, having fought the war from the very beginning, was financially drained. America, on the other hand, had become the arsenal of democracy, its factories churning out supplies at an unprecedented rate. The economic balance of power was shifting, and the beaches of Normandy were the stage for its dramatic tipping point. The scale of D-Day logistics is something that almost defies comprehension. Imagine trying to supply a city the size of Omaha, Nebraska, but you have to build that city from scratch on a hostile shore. In the middle of a war, the Allies landed nearly 7 million tons of supplies in the months following the invasion. This included everything from two artificial harbors, called mulberries, which were towed across the English Channel, to a massive undersea pipeline, Pluto, that pumped millions of gallons of fuel directly to the front lines. All of this material, every single piece of it, was overwhelmingly American-made. The jeeps, the Sherman tanks, the rifles, the boots on the soldiers' feet, they were all products of the booming U.S. war economy. This logistical dominance wasn't just about winning battles. It was a powerful demonstration of economic might. While British industry had been battered by years of war, American factories were running 24/7. The message was clear, even if unspoken. America had the resources, the industry, and the money to shape the post-war world. The sheer volume of American goods pouring into Europe was a sign of things to come. And this brings us to the moment the pound sterling, for centuries the world's reserve currency, began its final decline. Before the war, if you wanted to trade internationally, you did it in pounds. The British Empire was the center of global finance, but two world wars had bled it dry. By 1944, Britain was drowning in debt, much of it owed to the United States through the Lend-Lease program. D-Day was the final massive expenditure it simply couldn't afford on its own. America, in contrast, emerged from the war not as a debtor, but as the world's largest creditor. It held most of the world's gold, its economy was booming, and its currency was stable and backed by immense industrial power. Just 1 month after D-Day, in July 1944, Allied leaders met at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. It was here that the new global financial order was officially born. The British, led by the brilliant economist John Maynard Keynes, fought to maintain a significant role for the pound. But the reality was undeniable. The delegates agreed to a new system where international currencies would be pegged to the US dollar, which in turn was convertible to gold at a fixed rate. The dollar had officially taken the throne. The financial power that had been demonstrated on the beaches of Normandy was now codified into international law. The age of the pound was over. With Europe in ruins, America faced a new challenge: how to rebuild its allies and, crucially, create stable markets for its own goods. The answer was the Marshall Plan, officially the European Recovery Program. This was a massive injection of American aid. Over $13 billion at the time, which is hundreds of billions in today's money. But it was more than just charity. It was a stroke of strategic genius. The aid came with a condition. It had to be used to purchase goods and services from the United States. So, American dollars flowed to Europe, which then used those same dollars to buy American tractors, American steel, and American expertise to rebuild their countries. This created a perfect closed-loop system. It rebuilt Europe, preventing the spread of communism, and it supercharged the American economy by creating a massive captive market for its exports. More importantly, it solidified the dollar's role at the center of everything. To participate in this grand reconstruction, you needed dollars. To trade, to rebuild, to grow, everyone needed dollars. The Marshall Plan wasn't just about rebuilding bricks and mortar. It was about building the global dollar system piece by piece. What D-Day and its aftermath created was an invisible scaffolding that supports our global economy to this day. Think about it. When countries trade oil, it's priced in dollars. When central banks hold foreign reserves, they primarily hold dollars. The dollar is the foundation of international finance. This system, often called the dollar standard, gives the United States immense power and privilege. It can borrow more cheaply than other countries and exert financial pressure through sanctions. This entire structure has its roots in that pivotal moment in the mid-20th century. The military victory of D-Day was visible and dramatic, but the economic victory was quieter, more complex, and arguably even more enduring. The logistical effort to supply the invasion force demonstrated America's unparalleled productive capacity. The Bretton Woods Agreement formalized the dollar's supremacy, and the Marshall Plan locked that system into place, ensuring that the dollar would be the lifeblood of the post-war global economy. It's a structure that operates in the background of our daily lives, an empire not of land, but of currency, whose foundations were laid on the sandy beaches of Normandy. So the next time you hear about D-Day, remember it as more than just a military triumph. It was the day the old world order, centered on the British Empire and its pound, was decisively washed away by a tide of American logistics and financial power. The bravery of the soldiers secured a victory against tyranny, but the vast supply chain behind them secured a new kind of empire for the United States, a dollar empire that continues to shape our world in profound ways. From the chaos of war, a new economic order was born, and its effects are still felt in every international transaction and every corner of the global market. The world we live in today was forged in the fire of the Second World War, and on the day the soldiers landed in Normandy, the dollar landed with them, ready to conquer the world. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this perspective on history interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories that look beyond the headlines. See you next time.